It is May 15th, 2019. So we are looking at a conjunction of energies with the full moon and several solar flares launched in our direction. Yesterday we had fairly significant geomagnetic storming and world events that dovetailed, including the statement from the president of China. And right now I'm feeling the energies, but I'm also aware of how we are affected. And by being aware of how we're affected by the changing energies, we can make it a more mindful thing instead of wig out. I'm going to say this at the beginning. I've said it before, but we're going to go back to basics. I wrote a little bit about this in my ebook, but I need to get more detailed, and I intend to do so. But it's a general idea or understanding that during certain periods, this is why there were so many visions during the 2000s, during that solar maximum period. And that was an intense cycle. There were also intense things taking place in the world and within us. Where were you in 1998, 1999, 2000? Oddly enough, there's actually an article that I just saw the other day that asked that same question, but it was relating it to the Blazers. Sign of the times is what we're seeing with some of the violent crime. And there are other signs that may not be obvious, but they're there. And there could be personal signs that are delivered to you and you alone. And you're going to be maybe feeling some things over the course of the next few hours, the next few days. Some of us may be physically located in various places on the earth that have special magnetism. Sometimes, in some cases, electronics don't work very well. And when we have these magnetic fluxes and geomagnetic storms and cosmic rays, where is that going to leave us in the future? And for better or for worse, right? How's that going to alter human consciousness? I'm suggesting that by being aware of it and being in the driver's seat, we can maintain balance. Because there's a fair amount of deprogramming that I think that we all could do, as well as healing. Right? We need to tap into some of those forces. There are also some very destructive forces that are at work right now. And so I will look and glance, for example, at, say, what AMTV's headlines are, and without even knowing what his headlines were before my last video, I see how my own intuitions are confirmed. Things that I talk about in video, and then maybe a few hours later, I'm seeing like some new announcement or a new revelation that, as the expression goes, makes one's hair stand up, if you will, or to give one goosebumps. So I saw an article about China. They're importing Pakistanis, Christian Pakistanis. And you know, Pakistanis, Afghanis, others, there's not a lot of people who are going to say, hey, stop doing that to those people. And now we're looking at the long-term fallout of that type of reality. And so after warning you for years and years about something potentially happening here and doing a lot to warn Americans, meanwhile, those very things have been done on a larger scale directly to people over there, while putting 1 million of their own people in camps. As they unleash AI that identifies ethnicity, Google helps China. I read an eye-opening report that also verified intuitively what I feel. And I know that people don't like it when I talk about the networks of people in the disinformation elements of the alternative media where they work together, scratch each other's back for hits and views. And there was a report that came out. It's actually one of the first reports that I've seen where they're not just starting out demonizing 911 people. It's like, can't they just like leave it on the current issue and begin to see the difference between the schools of thought? It'd be great if by accident, it would be by accident, if one of my videos would find those researchers and they would understand that there is a danger in them just whitewashing everything as conspiracy theory or putting conspiracy theorists in the same box as the white nationalists. But what they did is they showed a chart from Spencer to 64 others. So they talked about 65 people on 81 channels. And I'm not going to read out all the names and all the stuff. Some of the stuff you already know. Some people don't know this. But like literally with statistics, they can show some of the people that are the largest or the biggest ones claiming that they are being suppressed or held back. We can look at the photograph with Christopher Green and a former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt. And we can see Paul Joseph Watson with a plaque from YouTube saying congratulations for 1 million subscribers. And it's important that you understand this mentality of falsely claiming that one is a victim of others while they're actually being given the red carpet treatment. This is the psychology of this society now. It is very sick. And illegal immigration isn't just something that you can take and stamp as the cause of every known problem in the known universe. So when we deal with tax increases, wherever it is, if you look online, there's a lot of disinformation about where the tax increases are coming from within our nation. There's more fake news than there was a few years ago to a certain degree on Facebook. Like the gloves have come off. And this is what we need to get into as we talk about also this image recently being shown on Facebook, as we talk about predictive programming, as we talk about also what they might be planning. Because the other revelation is that on the heels of this announcement from the president of China, do you know what went down on Facebook? Millions, perhaps billions. I don't know how many people. Are there billions served on Facebook? I mean, it's getting that point. Major data breach with the WhatsApp app or the WhatsApp. So I guess this is relating to instant messenger on Facebook. That always creeped me out. And it never made sense to me why there were so many quote unquote conspiracy theorists that were so trusting of these social media platforms, and that there would be this type of collaboration between those people that were promoted for a while and did really well before they got, if they were big enough, the free publicity and advertising. People as big as Milo and Alex Jones have been banned from the platform. But what people don't understand is you're not banned from the internet as long as you have the word of mouth advertising for where the people can go to watch your new stream. An intelligent human understands the power of the advertising dollar, of the name dropping. People that don't have intelligence don't understand these things. How just actually having a war even between YouTubers can help those YouTubers grow in numbers. It's not a healthy thing to get involved in. But it's important now that people face the facts about how these algorithms have promoted the worst of the worst and the truth is coming out. And people need to face the truth. They need to have these internal visions about themselves, what needs to be improved in their own life. They need to see reality as it is. Almost as if, there's a potential of the sun and the moon united into one, creating a droplet of truth that can set someone's free. That is my prayer for you today. But there are many people that are going back to sleep. It is also proper that you get a progress report from me regarding the back end and phenomena that I'm seeing. And if you're not able to support this channel, that's okay. But a progress report on a regular basis regarding growth and other phenomena is in order. Phenomena would include strange things that may even happen on the computer. The last thing that I want to be perceived by you, my audience, is paranoid or crazy. So I approach certain positions of mine and theories with regards to sharing them with you with a little bit of caution. I have a pretty strong sense that some of us are being watched pretty closely by the real forces that be. And that's a real reason why, especially some of our content, especially with hit the nail on the head, why we face some of the interference and the algorithm problems, the promotion of slander, and things that seem to have almost a phenomena type of effect where other people that are much larger that have like genuine haters and stuff, like hardcore, like people with massive viewership, people that are extremely controversial. How do they escape by? Without interference. It's within the staff of this platform. There's always been collaboration between the staff behind the scenes, the engineers, and this disinformation within the alternative media. And they have always worked to cover that up. But now there's type of a gloves off thing that I'm seeing with them as the content and what they're suggesting gets worse. And that report talks about most of the content was white nationalist that they clicked on. And it kept entering into a labyrinth and a labyrinth. Not only that, videos often will be demonetized that discuss what YouTube is doing. I can't be silent about this. This is a pretty big deal. I can look at my little old self with some of these videos years ago talking about this stuff, only a few hundred views. But I can look at people that are involved in academia that aren't even necessarily batting left or right. They're just doing a report on this groupthink and this phenomena. And some people do better reports than others. I do not like how the left, however, throws people like me under the bus. And for years, they've always kind of painted me as a right wing with a right wing brush. Portlanders did. That's why I left many years ago. And so when I talk about the illusions of separation, regular viewers, long-term viewers know how deep this goes. It started with me ranting at liberals and progressives and Democrats. And now I'm living off the grid in a time where there's a lot of brainwashing going on over the illusions of separation. And I'm in a position that's more challenging than others. And I've woken up to the reality that only the Supreme Being is there for me with regards to certain things. We need a segue. What I also don't want to be perceived as is fear-mongering regarding collapse, regarding needing to get things to survive. Having said that, you should have a food supply. It's just a matter of where you're getting your food supply from. Not everyone is in a position to be growing their own food. Not everyone has running water. Some people are too entrenched in poverty and too suppressed by the algorithm to where it is complicated to live, say, in society. Part of me living off the grid was just me trying to survive. This is from 2013. I'm in New Mexico in that picture, sitting on a boat, thinking about maybe a boat one day, like keeping me afloat, whereas water may be surrounding me. I've always kind of had these visions of pole shifts, these conflicts, and solar flares. And now I'm watching the world stage be rolled out by people that talk about the things that I talk about, but they just started in recent years. I want those of you that are the few that are remaining to have the truth as to what's going on at this time. There's phenomena taking place that's a little bit bizarre. The YouTube subscriber count, let's start there, seems to be stunted in a phenomena for the first time ever. It's ranging between like 16, 17, 73, 74, and 17 or 16 It's early in the morning. Numbers. 16,780. 16,780. So it was around that number, and then it'll drift down a few. Like, there could even be likes on the videos, but they'll be dropping off. I'm consistently producing the same message and content, but the audience is dropping off. The phenomena on one level is that as the algorithm renders me irrelevant, algorithm and AI that's also identifying ethnicities around the world, and this is being weaponized. The humans on the ground, also many of them programmed, also many of them more interested in their ego being fulfilled than facing the truth, are doing the same thing, are making the same mistake as humans become robots. And for years, even within our own pop culture and modern digital mythology, people talked about the T word. What is that? Transhumanism. You'll see an interview between myself and Tom Horn. But is Tom Horn free today from becoming a robot with the direction he has gone? He's gone on the bandwagon regarding many narratives. Nearly everyone that I knew in the past has got on board. And so there would be a reason why I would step back from associating with being a part of, quote unquote, a truth movement years ago. And now to see these reports validating what I said to you intuitively, I felt was going on, like even people maybe monitoring the channel within YouTube that have alliances. There are certain things, if you talk about certain things and certain beefs, people like to feed into it, and realizing that is the name of the game. So there's tons of stuff I never brought to this channel, and then some stuff I did. And even when I did protect their privacy, see, I talked about something that I believed was a scam on YouTube. There are these various networks that try to get you to sign your name on the dotted line and get you to join a network, and they try to like change the cut under some idea that you might get more promotion. Now, I didn't know what that meant then, because a lot of this stuff was just getting crazy in 2016 and 17. I mean, it was still going on after Trump was elected. It was tapering off a little bit, but it was still pretty bad. And then we saw the adpocalypse right around the same time. But right before that adpocalypse, there was an individual that wanted me to go along with something, and he had represented other people in the alternative media that were big names. It was just like a thing where your YouTube AdSense isn't like the normal AdSense anymore. You're cutting it with somebody else, but they might get you more views. And I'm thinking, what's the catch? Especially when it was custom tailored for truther people. I'm not mentioning the name of the company. There are other shady things on the contract that look like it was connected with other nation states, like China and Saudi Arabia. I kid you not. And so I didn't continue talking to that person, and another person that I previously did a 3-hour report on, talking about organized disinformation campaigns. And that is what led to the birth of the quote-unquote exposed YouTube channel, a person getting revenge, and an algorithm that worked with him behind the scenes in an attempt to destroy the image of Alex Ansary forever in the minds of some random people that may come and go. Oh, yeah, he looks like a criminal type. I wouldn't let him near my kids. Yeah, that's a dangerous face. You can see him coming a mile away. And that type of an implant works like bread and butter, like eggs and bacon. The algorithms of today take the traditional constructs of white supremacy and racism and classism and other forms of discrimination, and it takes it to a whole other dimension. where robots take over, in the arena where humans won't be there in the end to say no. On the path to that way, they turn the humans into robots to allow the robots to take over their societies. There are stages to this. But they have clearly shown an organized crime disinformation campaign in the last few years to amp up the illusions of separation, to cry wolf about various scenarios. And so when the real threats come, we are divided and united around a candle. In prayer, for example, the place where we should be. Well, a lot of people won't be in that place if they're going to be stuck in the fight or flight. But those of us that are able to access this knowledge information early on, we can prevent ourselves from panicking. And so we're having a discussion about the true nature of human consciousness. We're talking about the reality that today's alternative media consumer is more interested in almost like a sports team type of understanding. Ego fulfillment, feeling good, Dr. Feel Good. Feeling good from the types of media that they're consuming. That it's stroking their ego. That it's supporting their worst fears and things that are literally within their ancestry, ways in which they can be controlled by the archons. This is probably one of the most key elements here. And so what I see with these people, you need to understand things from my position. I have a position that no other person in the main media has. I'm a position that met some of these people a long time ago. Not necessarily the people that were in the 65 list, but people that were around it. Well, Paul Watson at one point did repost Alex Ansary content to Prison Planet. 2008 was a long time ago. So I can be Alex Ansary in 2008 covering and criticizing the far left calling for violence in Portland, Oregon, and they will repost my content. And I will take the hit in Portland as they would call me names. You listen to too much Alex Jones. But yeah, I was standing against them calling for violence and property destruction. And people talked to me like I was a geek. They literally called me a cop. So, hey, a guy like Alex Ansary is always going to be put into a box by the Dom? Because to me, it's like Son of Hightower. He puts out a lot of good content. You should check out his channel. He's talking about the stage-managed unrest in Portland. That is by design. And he can see it, but most cannot. Most of all, don't be surprised when people get caught up in it. Like, why is this person caught up? Tons of people are caught up in it. And so when we talk about the progress report, it's kind of like in school, progress report. And this needs to become a more normal part of this broadcast, like progress report. Like I said recently in a video, is there anyone listening in the Alamosa area, San Luis Valley? And I know that years ago, hundreds of people would contact me for tips and information that they personally could use, but none of them really cared about this content or this channel. Many became trolls. Some just went away. But as far as like a long-term, this Alex Ansary over the years, he seems to actually be putting together a lot of information on his own. He's not connected with these other groups. He's on his own, literally off the grid. So far, I'm not recognized. And I think that it's time to more directly speak of the truth as it is without trying to sugarcoat anything for you, to appease you. To continue to even receive support. I want to continue to receive support, but ultimately, it can be used to control what people say. People can say, well, you know what? We supported you in the past when you stayed off of these issues. But now that you're hitting on this nerve, we feel offended, so we're going to bow out. We're going to bow out now. Because I think that ultimately enough people are doing that, are finding it irrelevant. There's no excuse for that type of viewership. 80 views, 90 views. The channel's been around 14 years. Now at otbtv.net, for those that are regular viewers, that are annoyed with YouTube, I will continue to post content there. I would also appreciate to see some of the very first people comment on my own platform. If you would like to leave a comment on a recent video, there's a comment section at otbtv.net. There's also a newsletter. But I am here to say today that I think that there's enough signs mounting that I don't think that it is crazy if you were to take gardening very seriously this year, if you're able to haul that water. I think that we need to be realistic with our prepper plans. I think that there's a lot of bullies in the survival product industry and talk show market. And I feel like my eyes have been opened to something new or deeper, combined with, of course, the emotions of the full moon and the solar flares. But there's been a lifetime of encountering bad people. And I can look at like all of these interviews that I've done over the years, spotlights. Out of those people that I've interviewed, though, who even respects me? In the very end, like, so how many people did I have on my show in the past? 100, 150, 200? How many of those people even know my name now? Something has changed in human consciousness, and it's not for the better. And I literally was walking back and forth for an hour before I hit record, trying to put this into words. Yeah, something shifted. I see an algorithm that's putting me in a certain box, and a human collective that can also, in their own mind, render the content irrelevant without realizing how relevant and timely it is. As we see this declaration of war on the United States from the people of China, as the president sends them in that socially engineered direction, we see a massive hack of private messages on the heels of me doing a podcast within 24 hours talking about how I believe that they have identified the nation's patriots through the private message system. Now, the specific example given was the feds using the wildlife refuge as an example. But what about foreign nation states using that data as well for their own military reasons and purposes? The other thing that I want to bring to your attention, hashtag not a Muslim. Hashtag not a Muslim has a promising future, or maybe a website, notamuslim.com. The idea is there's a lot of news that I see that is not committed by Muslims, especially in Colorado, especially regarding sexual assault, that's committed by their own locals. And I have seen countless examples of people promoting fake news about other people doing something to them, but when there's an actual story about a gang rape, communities may ignore it because it looks so bad. 3 white guys get together, right? They take a girl, they were supposedly going to take her home from college. And, she's feeling a little loose. Consensual sex turns into a violent gang rape with a shotgun. And where did they learn that type of behavior? Yeah. Don't even act like we shouldn't be asking those types of questions. Like, I'm seeing like 4, 5, 6 synchronicity dots with things that I said to you in the last 24 hours or 36 hours. And then I'll spend some extra time online and like synchronicity, like magnetism. Something off the main news wire will really stick out. Did we talk about Jeff Bezos yet? Check out the article at otbtv.net. A vision to put 1 trillion people in space. We don't even have 1 trillion people yet. He has this vision for like these massive populations floating in matrix pods in space. I talked to you about if we see the potential for this, that women will not experience the same level of safety. And I've said for years, it seems like the things that are happening to other people overseas are destined for us. And then I actually look at what's happening overseas, and there it is. They are buying Pakistani girls in China. They are buying Pakistani girls from poor families in the Middle East and importing them to China. Okay, this is not something that I was reporting last week. This is not something that I was reporting last month. The other thing that I want to bring your attention to regarding the strangeness of the algorithm that is working to it's not good. When you look at the future robotic rollout, and how intertwined it's been with Google, I mean, a lot of things are coming clear that previously only seemed to be speculations. And that's what's so troubling. Wouldn't it be so great to be wrong? Hashtag, I want to be wrong about 2025. Alex Ansary, OTB TV. I want to be wrong. Please let me be wrong. Please let us see a retraction. But you're not going to see me holding my breath, continuing to pray and pray, or to look away from it. I mean, literally, how does one respect a society wholesale that will bury an individual that has done everything to try to warn the nation, and to see things like clockwork within a nation? There's something going on. There's got to be massive mind control if my own audience doesn't see relevancy in the years of content leading up to wherever we are at this point in the timeline. There's been so much superficial content, superficial angles to some of the emails sent to me over the many years. This is a major time in our nation's history. This is not a game. This is not a joke. I have massive value to your society, but I'm waiting to see any evidence that your society even recognizes me at all in something other than a negative light. Can that be shown? Because if it cannot and is not, and it continues to get worse, and in a matter of a few weeks and months, right? More and more people start unsubscribing. More people start tuning out. 5G rolls out. You don't think that I see some sort of a connection with all this in this deep solar minimum? There are some really weird things taking place. And you can go over to my YouTube channel. You can look at the front of the YouTube channel. And you can identify yourself that, wait a minute, it used to recommend all these people. This is something that is actually a pretty important detail. Right now, there's only one potential related channel to OTB TV News. It's Canadian Prepper. Nothing wrong with Canadian Prepper. A lot of fancy thumbs there. Looks kind of doomsday-ish. So I haven't yet become a listener. I may check out some vids. But what I noticed distinctly was that, well, he appears biracial. And I remember talking quite a bit about the split in consciousness and empathy with regards to understanding the experiences of some others. And something happened along the way on the Yellow Brick Road. Oh, I'd say about the last month, to where it used to recommend even AMTV and a couple other things at one time, a couple other large channels, one that deals with UFOs. In the past, it would deal with some others, and then something happened, like a button was pushed. Almost like a joke. And this is where the balance between rationale and paranoia must be kept. But here, let's go back. Here we have massive viewership on channels that market themselves as being the most censored. Channels, other events, other statements. It's built into the actual branding of. And yet, in my case, you actually have a real life example of that, but no one to speak for me. And so what it appears within the algorithm is that Alex Ansary literally is outside the box of being recognized as even being recognizable alternative media. That the only person worthy of linking to in the algorithm at present is Canadian Prepper, but no whites. I'm telling you, there's something going on behind the scenes with these big-time YouTubers and the engineers. And this is not going away. Trump met with the head of the tech companies, so they can control the narrative here with close partnership in tandem with China. It's all part of the deeper collaboration behind the scenes that is allowing this potentially in the future. I've always felt by next year we would be at some major points, and I hope that we have some more time. I really do. I remember in the past on this channel, I'd say something like, other than the grocery store or on Facebook, or just be any question, there would be so few replies in the comments regarding like deep thought out answers. And this is something across the board, whether I post on Facebook or I try to send out a major message on YouTube. I said recently there may be phenomena with emails deleted. I don't think that is. I see plenty of at present. No one is emailing me then on Patreon or VHX saying, Alex, did you get that big email or document that I sent you about this research project? Engagement on those platforms has flatlined. And the last thing that I would ever do is try to falsely promote to you that I'm bigger and more supported and popular than I actually am. There is at present zero engagement on the side platforms. And so I have no other way to conclude other than there is something taking place within human consciousness and the computerized AI algorithm that seems to be fusing itself into one and the same, or to where humans can be influenced by an algorithm or slander, as if they're robots that don't think for themselves, as if they're being programmed or programmed by some sort of electronic harassment. You could even say targeting audience members so they never come back to the channel. Remember, there was a reason why I asked you to sign VHX, to join VHX if you were financially able for $5.95 per month. And it was based on maybe a hope that on another platform we wouldn't have that interference. I can't vouch for that at all. For a period in time, a married woman who sent more than a few inappropriate emails was the only person engaging with my content on my private platform. Do you think that that feels and smells like success? Like an Ivory soap commercial? Engagement with others is good when it's a positive experience. When it flatlines or when the engagement gets weird, does it reflect on the totality of society? Especially when that behavior can be found within our own audience members or also known as fans. And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is yes. I'm terrified now. I don't see a nation that has my back. I know what's coming next. But I will continue to tell you what I think that you could use as far as advice. We don't just get into preparedness here. We get into spirituality. As we wrap things up, I'm going to refer you now to otbtv.net. Check out the spirituality section because that's the most important message. I'm actually doing this for others and helping others that are in these danger zones understand these changes. But there also is a time for me to make a transition into the next level of adulthood. So one could say that the first chapter, if you will, was telling you part of my story and warning you. The second part of the chapter is, in reality, how the people left me behind, how I was left behind, and how people would actually latch onto topics in recent years from a number of issues, from archons to World War III to changes in the sun, and maybe a combination of all of it together with a little bit of spice, a little bit of salsa. But it's like that feels so, the world just seems to be one that consumes us until we're no longer alive, as if we're eaten by our peers. There's this type of cannibalistic zombie energy that's taking over. And so I believe in paying attention to the signs, but being calm enough through whatever spiritual practice and whatnot to where we don't panic. That if we start having visions of certain things and realizing certain things may come down a certain way, we may have to dramatically change some things. We may have to completely go off the internet. In a day and age where without the internet you can't access me, there may be a separation at some point in order to remain alive. And you would be literally surrounded by facts and information as to what they're doing and what algorithms AI is being programmed with, the killer robots. And I would still face silence. My silence about the silence is going to end. For a lifetime, I've warned you, and I've tried to be your friend, and I've tried to give you deep spiritual information. Now, as we turn the pages of time, the truth has to come out also in a book to the behind-the-scenes reality that I've been living all of these years. Each experience, each year will be documented. If something happens to me, there will be a book out there somewhere. If someone like David Smith or someone else wants to volunteer to be a recipient of a great deal of written data to be distributed to the general population in the event of some sort of an accident, right? There needs to be real humans that don't laugh at ideas like this, but understand the severity of the situation. If you are in the San Luis Valley or in a safe place in Colorado, feel free to send me a message. Till next time, I'm Alex Ansary, reminding you the path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within.